Welcome in, everybody. We're going to take a deep dive into Against the Wind today, a song that's really become an anthem, I think, for weathering life's storms. It's a song that's crossed genres, resonated across generations, and we're going to look at why that is. We've got a really interesting mix of sources for this one, music journalism, some lyrical analysis, so we should be able to get a pretty well-rounded view of this song.
Yeah, it's not every day that a song manages to find success in both the rock and country worlds.
Right.
Against the Wind is a fascinating case study in how a song can kind of evolve and find new meanings as it's interpreted by different artists.
Yeah, that's true. And, I think a lot of people, when they think about Against the Wind, they think about the country version.
Yeah.
And they probably think of the Highwaymen.
Mm-hmm.
That supergroup, Willie Nelson,
Yeah.
Johnny Cash, Waylon Jennings, Kris Kristofferson. They put out their rendition in 1990. But what a lot of people don't realize is that it started out as a rock hit.
Exactly. Bob Seger wrote and recorded the original back in 1980, and it climbed all the way to number 5 on the Billboard Hot 100. So that cross-genre appeal is a testament to how deeply the themes resonate, regardless of musical style.
It really is. And it's interesting to think about how those different interpretations sort of highlight different aspects of the song. And we're definitely going to want to compare and contrast Seeger's original with the Highwaymen's version. But before we even get into the music itself, I want to talk about the heart of Against the Wind, and that's the lyrics.
Yeah, absolutely. The lyrics are just filled with vivid imagery, caught like a wildfire out of control. They get at the heart of these universal experiences like love loss and the passage of time.
Yeah, and then there's that central metaphor, running against the wind. Such a powerful image. What kinds of winds do you think Seeger's talking about in this song?
Oh, I don't think it's just one wind. It's multi-layered. I think there are definitely those external forces, societal pressures, the demands of a career, maybe just bad luck. But then there are those internal winds, too. Right. Self-doubt, past regrets, the things that hold us back from reaching our full potential.
It's not just the stuff coming at you. It's also the stuff inside.
Exactly.
Oh, that's interesting.
Right.
So it's not just about overcoming external obstacles, but also about facing those internal battles that we all deal with and finding that strength within ourselves to just keep going.
Yeah. And you see that reflected in those moments where Seeger seems to be grappling with choices that he's made, paths not taken. There's that line, "Wish I didn't know now what I didn't know then." It speaks to that sense of reflection, maybe even a little regret that comes with experience.
It's almost like he's saying that wisdom comes at a price.
Yeah.
But, even with that kind of sense of looking back, the song is ultimately about pushing forward.
Right.
And I think this is where Willie Nelson's interpretation becomes really fascinating.
Yeah.
His version, which is featured on the Highwaymen's debut album, it adds a whole new layer to the song.
You can hear it in his signature vocal style.
Right.
That nasal twang and the way he phrases the lyrics, it almost adds this layer of melancholy to the song, a sense of acceptance.
And it is very different musically from Seeger's rock sound.
Yeah.
Nelson's version is much more stripped back, more acoustic, which really highlights, I think, the introspective nature of the lyrics. You really feel the weight of those winds he's singing about.
It's almost like Seeger's version is more about fighting against the wind, while Nelson's is about accepting that the wind's presence is there in your life and finding a way to move forward in spite of it.
I like that. That's a great way to put it.
Right.
And it gets to the heart of how different interpretations can really highlight different facets of the same song. It's not just about the notes themselves. It's about the emotion, the nuance that each artist brings.
And with the song as rich as Against the Wind, there's just so much to unpack.
There really is. So let's take a closer look at some of the key lyrics and the deeper messages that they convey.
One of the things that I think makes Against the Wind so relatable is that it acknowledges the complexities of relationships. It's not just about romantic love. It's about, those deep connections that we forge with friends, family, even mentors.
Yeah. There's that real sense of longing for connection throughout the whole song. Like when he sings, "I found myself searching for shelter against the wind." It just makes you think about those times when we all need someone to lean on, someone who understands what we're going through.
And it's interesting how he connects that need for shelter with the idea of discernment, being able to, recognize who genuinely cares for you and who might be taking advantage, which is, it's a tough lesson, but an essential one.
He doesn't shy away from those tougher truths, does he?
No.
He talks about, those who love you sometimes and those who use you sometimes, which feels incredibly honest and raw. And I think it's something we all experience, but it's It's not something you hear very often in music, especially popular music.
Yeah, it's not sugar-coated.
No.
And I think that's part of what makes it so powerful. It doesn't shy away from, the messy realities of life and relationships.
Yeah, and it also strikes me how Seeger weaves together the past and the present in the lyrics. You have those moments of nostalgia, like remembering going to the movies with friends. But he also acknowledges, the weight of adulthood, the deadlines and commitments that come with getting older.
Yeah, there's that juxtaposition, right? That creates a sense of melancholy that runs through the song. There's that longing for simpler times, but also an acceptance of the realities of life's journey.
So, some critics have argued that Against the Wind kind of romanticizes the past. Do you think there's any truth to that?
It's true that it evokes a certain wistfulness for younger days. I wouldn't say that it romanticizes the past, though I think it's more about recognizing that each stage of life has its own challenges and rewards, and there's a maturity in acknowledging that you can't go back. Growth involves letting go of certain things.
So it's not about trying to recapture, your lost youth. It's about finding a way to integrate those experiences into who you are now.
Right, and using those experiences to navigate the present and the future. And remember, this is a song about resilience.
Right.
It's about finding a way to keep moving forward, even when things are tough.
Even when you're facing those headwinds.
Exactly.
So even when he's reflecting on the past, Seeger is still ultimately focused on that forward momentum.
Yeah, the song is called Against the Wind for a reason. It's about embracing that struggle, that push and pull, and finding a way to harness it to become stronger.
We've talked a bit about, how Willie Nelson's interpretation differs from Bob Seger's, but I'm curious from like a purely musical standpoint, what elements do you think contribute to the song's emotional impact?
Well, Seeger's a master at creating atmosphere in his music. And one thing that really stands out in Against the Wind is the use of minor chords, especially in the verses. They create a sense of underlying melancholy, a hint of sadness that really sets the tone.
And then the chorus shifts to major chords.
Right?
Which gives it that feeling of hope, like pushing through the darkness. It's like a musical representation of that struggle against the wind.
Yeah. And the tempo is crucial, too. It's not a fast, upbeat song, It's got that kind of steady, driving rhythm, like a heartbeat, which adds to that feeling of perseverance.
And there's also something about the way he uses the saxophone in the song. I don't know, it just adds this plaintive quality, almost like a voice crying out against the wind.
It's a brilliant touch. It adds another layer of emotion without being overpowering. It just blends so seamlessly with the other instruments. Creates this sonic landscape that perfectly complements the lyrics.
It's fascinating how those musical choices all work together to create such a powerful emotional experience. It's more than just, a catchy melody. There's a real depth to the music itself.
And that depth is what allows it to connect with listeners on such a visceral level. It's not just something you hear, it's something you feel.
We've covered a lot of ground already, from the different interpretations by Seeger and Nelson to the nuances of the lyrics and the music. But there's one more piece of the puzzle I want to explore, and that's the lasting impact of Against the Wind.
Yeah, it's become more than just a song. It's an anthem of resilience that continues to inspire people decades after its release.
So in the next part of our deep dive, we're going to examine how Against the Wind has resonated with fans across generations, its cultural significance, and why it remains a touchstone for discussions about facing life's challenges head-on. We've been unpacking a lot with this song. We've talked about, Willie Nelson's interpretation, Bob Seger's original version, the lyrics, the music. And I think what's really remarkable is how Against the Wind, it was released over 40 years ago. It still resonates so strongly today.
Yeah. It's become more than just a song. It's a cultural touchstone. You hear it everywhere.
I know.
It's true.
In movies, TV shows, commercials even, it's been covered by countless artists across different genres. And if you go online, you'll find, just a wealth of fan interpretations, discussions, personal stories connected to Against the Wind.
Yeah, it's true. It's like it's become a part of our collective consciousness.
Yeah, and there's a reason why Against the Wind is often cited as an anthem for resilience. Because the lyrics, with their honesty about life's struggles and that message of perseverance, it offers a sense of comfort and inspiration.
It doesn't offer easy answers or try to sugarcoat things. It acknowledges the pain, the setbacks, the moments when you feel like you're fighting a losing battle, but it also reminds you that you're not alone in those struggles.
Right, and that's a powerful message, especially in today's world where there's so much pressure to project this image of perfection against the wind. Gives you permission to be vulnerable, to acknowledge, the hard parts of life. and to keep moving forward even when it's tough.
Critics, they often praise Against the Wind for its emotional depth, its honesty, its ability to capture, the complexities of the human experience. But I think what's really remarkable is how those qualities translate to the listener. It's not just a critically acclaimed song. It's a song that people connect with so deeply on a personal level.
And that connection often extends beyond, the individual listener. The song has a way of bringing people together. I've been to Bob Seger concerts where the entire audience is singing along to Against the Wind, and it's incredibly moving. It creates this sense of shared experience of collective strength in facing life's challenges.
I've heard similar stories from people who've connected with the song through Willie Nelson's version. It's like no matter who's singing it, the message transcends the artist and speaks directly to the listener.
Yeah, and I think that's a testament to the power of music to bridge gaps, to create connections, to offer solace in the face of adversity.
So as we kind of wrap up our deep dive into Against the Wind, I'm left with a sense of awe, I think, for the song's enduring impact. It's a reminder that great art, it can transcend time, genre, personal experience, and touch something universal within us.
It's a song that continues to inspire, to comfort, to remind us that even when we feel like we're running against the wind, we have the strength to keep moving forward. What are some of the winds that you've faced in your own life, and how have you found the strength to keep going? We encourage you to reflect on the lyrics of Against the Wind and see how they might connect to your own journey. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
Seems like yesterday, but it was long ago.